Captain Kim stood tall on the bridge of the Earth ship, Resilience, his dark eyes fixed on the main screen. The alien ships were much bigger than his. They shined like giant metal stars against the black of space. "They're hailing us again, Captain," said Officer June at the communications desk. Kim took a deep breath. "Put them through." The screen changed to show a red-skinned alien with 4 eyes. This was General Draz of the Dravik, the strongest military force in the Galactic Confederation. "Human vessel," Draz said, his voice deep and rough. "You will follow our escort to the meeting point." "Understood," Kim replied calmly. "We come in peace as representatives of Earth." The alien made a sound like a laugh. "Peace. Yes. Your kind always talks of peace." The screen went black. Officer June looked at Kim. "Sir, I don't like how they speak to us." "Neither do I," Kim said. "But we need to be smart here. Earth is new to the galactic stage. We don't know what these aliens can do." The Resilience followed the alien escort. In front of them, a giant ring structure appeared. It was a jump gate, a door between star systems. The Resilience passed through it, and suddenly they were in a new solar system with 3 suns. Ahead of them floated a massive space station. It looked like a metal flower with each petal housing different alien species. "So that's Confederation Central," Officer June whispered. The Resilience docked at the station. Captain Kim led a team of 5 humans to the meeting hall. As they walked, aliens of all shapes and sizes stared at them. Some had too many limbs, others had skin that glowed. All of them seemed stronger or faster or bigger than the humans. In the Great Hall, representatives from 12 alien species sat around a huge table. The humans were given seats at the far end, away from the important aliens. General Draz stood to speak. "The Council recognizes the arrival of the newest discovered sentient species, the humans." He looked at Captain Kim with all 4 eyes. "We have studied your planet and your people. You are unimpressive." Kim kept his face calm even as anger rose inside him. "Humans have no natural armor," Draz continued. "No claws, no venom. Your muscles are weak compared to most species here. Your senses are dull. You cannot survive in space without protection. You cannot even breathe underwater." The other aliens nodded or made sounds of agreement. "Yet somehow you have developed space travel," Draz said. "This is unexpected. The Confederation offers Earth membership as a protected species." Kim frowned. "Protected species? What does that mean?" A blue alien with tentacles instead of arms spoke up. "It means you would be under our protection. You would not have full voting rights in Confederation matters, but you would be safe from any species that might see you as prey." Captain Kim looked at his team. Their faces showed the same mix of insult and worry that he felt. "I will bring this offer back to Earth's leaders," Kim said carefully. "We thank you for your consideration." As the humans left the meeting, General Draz stopped Captain Kim. "Your kind is physically weak," the alien said quietly. "In the galaxy, strength matters. Remember that, human." Kim looked the 4-eyed alien straight in his face. "There are many kinds of strength, General. Humans have survived on a world with predators that would frighten even you. Don't judge us too quickly." Back on the Resilience, Kim called an emergency meeting with his officers. "Earth has a choice to make," he told them. "Accept a lower place in the galaxy, or show these aliens they have seriously underestimated humanity." Officer June smiled. "When have humans ever accepted being told we're not good enough?" Kim nodded. "Exactly. The Confederation is about to learn an important lesson about humans." 6 months after Captain Kim's first meeting with the Confederation, a new human ship docked at the massive space station. This time, Earth sent a proper delegation to discuss their place in the galactic community. Ambassador Park stepped off the ship first. She was a short woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her walked Security Chief Han, a tall man with a face that showed no emotion. His eyes constantly scanned everything around him. Dr. Lee followed next, carrying devices to study the aliens. He was eager to learn about their bodies and how they worked. Last came Engineer Choi, who kept looking at the station's design with great interest. "Welcome to Confederation Central," said a green alien guide. "Your rooms are ready. The council will meet tomorrow." As they walked through the station, aliens of all kinds stared at them. Some aliens whispered, others pointed. Chief Han noticed everything, but kept his face calm. "They think we are weak," Ambassador Park said quietly. "Good. Let them think that." Their rooms were small and had strange beds not made for human bodies. The air was also different, a bit too thick. "They didn't even adjust the air for us," Dr. Lee said, checking his devices. "Either they don't care about our comfort, or they're testing our limits." "Both, probably," Engineer Choi replied as she examined the room's technology. Chief Han said nothing. He simply checked each room for dangers, then stood guard outside their doors. The next morning, the humans entered the great meeting hall. 12 alien representatives sat at a large round table. The human seats were again at the far end. Commander Vex, the new Dravik representative, stood up. He was bigger than General Draz and had a scar across one of his 4 eyes. "The human delegation may now speak," he said in a bored voice. "Tell us why we should change your status from protected species." Ambassador Park rose. Though she was the smallest person in the room, her voice was strong. "Earth does not need protection. We have survived and grown strong on a planet that tests us every day. Humans may not have claws or armor, but we have minds that solve problems. We have hearts that don't give up." Commander Vex laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. "Fine words. But the galaxy is not kind to soft creatures with no natural weapons." Park smiled. "Not all weapons are visible, Commander." Just then, the station lights flashed red. A voice came over the speakers in several languages. "Attention all beings. The annual tournament of skills will begin in 3 days. All species may enter 1 champion to represent them. The winner brings honor to their kind." The aliens all began talking excitedly. Commander Vex stood taller, his 4 eyes gleaming. "The Dravik will win again this year," he announced. "Our champion has never been defeated." A blue tentacled alien spoke up. "Will the humans enter, or are they too fragile for such tests?" All eyes turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Park looked at her team. Dr. Lee shook his head slightly. Engineer Choi looked nervous. Chief Han stepped forward. "I will represent Earth," he said, his voice quiet but firm. The room filled with alien laughter. Commander Vex walked over to Han and stood very close, towering above him. "You? A soft human with no armor or claws. You will not survive the first challenge." Han looked up at the huge alien, his face still showing no emotion. "We shall see," he said simply. Later, back in their rooms, Ambassador Park turned to Han. "Are you sure about this? These competitions might be dangerous in ways we don't understand." Han nodded once. "Earth needs to show its strength, not with words, but with actions." Dr. Lee looked worried. "The Dravik are 3 times stronger than humans. Their skin can stop small weapons." Han almost smiled. "Strength isn't everything, Doctor. Humans know something these aliens don't." "What's that?" asked Engineer Choi. "How to be dangerous without looking dangerous," Han replied. "They'll learn soon enough." The great arena at Confederation Central was filled with aliens of all kinds. They had come to watch the Tournament of Skills, a contest that happened once every 5 years. Each species sent 1 champion to prove their worth. Chief Han stood in the waiting area with the other champions. Next to him, the Dravik champion was almost 3 times his size, with muscles that looked like rocks under his red skin. Across the room, a champion with 6 arms cleaned its claws. Another had skin that changed colors as it moved. Han looked small and plain next to these strange beings. The human still plans to compete. The Dravik champion, Kra, laughed as he spoke to his friends. He will break like a twig. Han said nothing. He simply continued his slow stretching exercises. Ambassador Park, Dr. Lee, and Engineer Choi watched from their seats in the stands. "I'm worried," Dr. Lee said. "Some of these aliens have natural weapons we can't match." "Han knows what he's doing," Park replied, but her eyes showed concern. In the center of the arena, a floating platform held the announcer, a small purple alien with a voice that boomed like thunder. "Welcome to the 127th Tournament of Skills. Champions from across the galaxy will face 3 challenges. First, the Endurance Trial. Second, the Battle of Minds. And finally, the Combat Challenge." The crowd roared with excitement. "Champions, prepare for the Endurance Trial." The first challenge took place in a special room where the gravity could change. The champions had to hold heavy metal balls while the gravity increased. As the gravity got stronger, champions would drop out when they could no longer stand. "The human will fall first," Kra said as they entered the room. The trial began. The gravity slowly increased. Han's face showed no pain, but sweat began to roll down his forehead. One by one, champions fell to their knees. A small insect-like alien dropped out first. Then a champion with tentacles instead of legs. To everyone's surprise, Han remained standing. His arms shook with effort, but he did not fall. The gravity increased again. Now even Kra was struggling. 3 more champions dropped their metal balls and were out. Soon, only Han and Kra remained. "Impossible," Kra grunted. "How can a human still stand?" Han's face was red with effort, but his eyes remained calm. Finally, Kra's legs gave out, and he fell to one knee. The crowd went silent in shock. Then whispers spread through the arena. The human won the first trial. Back in the waiting area, Han drank water and rested. Dr. Lee rushed to check on him. "Your muscle tissues are strained, but nothing is torn," the doctor said, looking at a small scanner. "How did you do that?" "The gravity was 5 times Earth normal at the end." Han shrugged. "Humans evolved on a planet where we had to carry heavy things over long distances. Our bodies are built for endurance." Ambassador Park smiled. "You've made quite an impression. The aliens are confused." "Good," Han said. "Confusion is useful." In his private box, Commander Vex watched with narrowed eyes. He had bet many credits on Kra winning the first trial. "It was just luck," he told the blue alien sitting next to him. "The human will fail in the next trial. The battle of minds requires intelligence, not just stubborn muscles." The blue alien's tentacles moved in what might have been a shrug. "Perhaps we have underestimated these humans." "Nonsense," Vex snapped. "They are still weak. One surprise victory means nothing." Down in the arena, the announcer's voice boomed again. "Champions, prepare for the battle of minds." Han stood and walked toward the arena floor. As he passed Kra, the Dravik leaned down. "Enjoy your moment, human. It will not last." Han looked up at the huge alien, his face calm. "The tournament has just begun," he said quietly. "And you have much to learn about humans." The Battle of Minds took place in a special room with strange helmets for each champion. The helmets would connect to their brains and show puzzles only they could see. Each champion had to solve increasingly difficult problems while racing against time. Han sat calmly as an alien helper placed the helmet on his head. The device felt cold against his skin. "Begin," shouted the announcer. The first puzzles were simple. Han solved them quickly. As the challenges got harder, he stayed focused. His hands moved steadily, solving physical puzzles while his mind worked on mental ones. In the viewing area, Dr. Lee studied readings from Han's body. "His heart rate is barely elevated," Dr. Lee told Ambassador Park. "He's completely calm under pressure." Engineer Choi pointed to other screens showing the alien champions. "Look at the Dravik. Kra is getting angry. His mistakes are increasing." Indeed, Craw was growing frustrated. His large hands smashed against the puzzle board when he got answers wrong. 3 other champions had already given up, their minds overwhelmed. Han continued solving puzzles, his face showing only deep concentration. In the end, Han placed third in the Battle of Minds. A small gray alien with a huge head came first, and a tree-like being came second. Craw finished 7th out of 12. The crowd buzzed with surprise again. No one had expected the human to do well in 2 events. Commander Vex was furious. This makes no sense. Humans are supposed to be simple creatures. During the break before the final challenge, Dr. Lee examined Han in their private room. "Your brain scans show unusual patterns," Dr. Lee said, looking at his devices. "You process information differently than most humans." Han nodded. "I was trained to. My mind was my first weapon." Engineer Choi entered the room, excited. "I've been studying the other champions. The Dravik rely too much on strength. They don't adapt well to new situations." "That's the human advantage," Ambassador Park said. "Adaptability." Dr. Lee showed them more data on his screen. "I've analyzed all the alien species here. They each have impressive abilities, but also clear weaknesses. The Dravik have great strength but poor endurance. The 6-armed Velox have speed but can't handle pain well." Han listened carefully. "And humans? We are the most balanced," Dr. Lee explained. "Not the strongest, not the fastest, but we have no major weaknesses either. And we have something special." He pointed to a chart. "Our pain tolerance and ability to keep going when injured is off the charts compared to other species." Engineer Choi added, "I've made some small changes to your uniform. Nothing that breaks the rules, but it should help protect your vital areas." Han thanked her with a slight nod. Over the station speakers, the announcer's voice boomed. "All beings, the final challenge will begin in 1 hour. The combat trial. Champions will face each other in the arena until only one remains standing." Ambassador Park looked worried. "This is what I feared. Direct combat against aliens with natural weapons." Han stood up and stretched his muscles. "It was always going to come to this. The Dravik champion will target you," Dr. Lee warned. "Craw is angry about losing the first trial." "Good," Han said. "Anger makes fighters careless." As Han prepared to leave for the arena, Ambassador Park stopped him. "Earth is proud of you, no matter what happens next," she said. "No one expected a human to get this far." Han's face showed a hint of a smile for the first time. "The tournament isn't over yet," he said, "and the Confederation still has much to learn about humans." As Han walked toward the arena, a small alarm began to sound throughout the station. At first, people ignored it, but then the alarm got louder, and red lights began to flash in all corridors. Something was wrong. The red lights flashed all through the station. A voice spoke in many languages over the speakers. "Warning. Unknown ships have docked at levels 5, 8, and 12. Security breach detected." Han stopped walking toward the arena. Around him, aliens ran in panic. Some pushed others to get away faster. "Security Chief Han." Ambassador Park's voice came through his earpiece. "Can you hear me?" "I hear you," Han said. "What's happening?" "The station is under attack. A group called the Scourge. They're space pirates, mostly rogue Dravik. They've broken through the outer defenses." Han changed direction, moving quickly through the crowds. "Where are you?" "Dr. Lee and I are trapped in the diplomatic meeting room with representatives from other species." Engineer Choi was in the tech center. Suddenly, the lights went out completely. Only the red emergency lights still worked. The main power was gone. "Stay where you are," Han said. "I'm coming to you." Han moved through the dark corridors. His eyes adjusted quickly. Most aliens were running away from danger, but Han went toward it. He had trained for situations like this. As he turned a corner, he saw them. 5 Scourge pirates. They were mostly Dravik, but bigger and with more scars. They had metal pieces attached to their bodies and carried energy weapons. Han pressed himself against the wall and listened. "Take all important aliens to the main hall," said the leader. "Krell wants them as hostages." "What about the humans?" asked another pirate. "Who cares? They're weak. No value as hostages." The pirates moved on. Han followed them silently, staying in the shadows. He needed to know where they were taking the hostages. In another part of the station, Commander Vex and 3 Dravik warriors were hiding in a storage room. "We must do something," said one warrior. "No," Vex said. "We wait for the station's security forces, but they've captured many representatives. We are Dravik. We should fight." Vex growled. "The Scourge have better weapons. We will wait." Meanwhile, Han reached the diplomatic meeting room. Through a small window in the door, he could see Ambassador Park, Dr. Lee, and 8 alien representatives, surrounded by 7 armed Scourge pirates. One pirate pushed a blue tentacled alien who fell to the floor. "Move faster," the pirate shouted. Han needed a plan. He couldn't fight 7 armed pirates directly. He looked around and saw a control panel for the room's air system. An idea formed in his mind. Using knowledge from Engineer Choi, Han rewired the panel. The room's air would slowly be replaced with a mix that was safe for humans, but would make the Dravik pirates sleepy. He waited 10 minutes. Through the window, he could see the pirates becoming slower, their 4 eyes blinking more often. 3 sat down, confused about why they felt strange. Now was the time. Han took a deep breath and kicked the door open. The pirates turned, surprised. They raised their weapons, but they were too slow now. Han moved quickly. He knocked the weapon from the nearest pirate's hand and used it to hit another pirate. Ambassador Park saw her chance. She kicked a pirate who was close to her. Dr. Lee and some of the braver alien representatives joined the fight. In less than a minute, all 7 pirates were on the floor, either unconscious or too weak to fight. "How did you do that?" asked a small green alien, looking at Han with new respect. "I changed the air mix," Han explained. "Dravik need more oxygen than humans. I reduced it to a level that affects them but not us." Dr. Lee nodded. "Clever, using their biology against them." "This is just the beginning," Han said, picking up a pirate's weapon. "Their leader, Krell, has more hostages in the main hall. We need to stop him." Ambassador Park looked at the alien representatives. "Will you help us?" The aliens looked at each other, then at Han. "We will follow the human," said the blue tentacled alien. "He knows how to fight these pirates." Han checked the weapon he had taken. "Let's move. And stay quiet." Han led the group through dark corridors toward the main hall. They moved quietly, stopping often to listen for danger. "There's a security room ahead," Han whispered to Ambassador Park. "We can see what's happening in the main hall from there." They found the security room empty. Han quickly checked the control panels. Most screens were dark, but 3 still worked. They showed the main hall where at least 30 hostages sat on the floor surrounded by Scourge pirates. "That's Krell," Dr. Lee said, pointing to a huge Dravik with metal plates covering parts of his red skin. One of his 4 eyes was replaced with a glowing electronic device. "He's the Scourge leader." Han studied the screens carefully. 15 pirates in the main hall. Too many to fight directly. The blue alien looked at Han with worry. "Then what can we do?" "We divide them," Han said. "Make them come to us in small groups." Han turned to Dr. Lee. "Can you access the station's systems from here?" Dr. Lee sat at the control panel. "Some systems still work." "What do you need?" "Fire alarms in sections near the main hall," Han said. "And door controls." While Dr. Lee worked, Han explained his plan to the others. Soon, alarms began ringing in areas around the main hall. On the screens, they saw Krell send pirates to check what was happening. "Now seal the doors behind them," Han told Dr. Lee. "Trap them away from the main group." Han turned to the others. "I'll handle the separated pirates. The rest of you stay here where it's safe. I'm coming with you." Ambassador Park said firmly. Han looked at her, then nodded once. Stay behind me. Together, Han and Park moved through the corridors. They found two Scourge pirates trying to get back through a sealed door. Han moved silently behind them. With quick strikes to specific points on their bodies, both pirates fell unconscious. Where did you learn to fight like that? Park asked, surprised. Earth's Special Forces, Han said simply as he took the pirates' weapons. They continued through the station, dealing with small groups of pirates that had been separated from the main force. Han used the station itself as a weapon, turning off gravity in some sections, filling others with smoke, creating distractions that let him get close to the enemies. In the security room, the aliens watched on the screens as Han moved from section to section, defeating pirates with skill they had never seen from a human. He doesn't fight like any species I know, said the green alien. He uses the environment, not just strength. Dr. Lee nodded. That's how humans survived on Earth. We learned to use our surroundings to overcome stronger predators. On another screen, they saw Commander Vex and his warriors finally leaving their hiding place. Look, said the blue alien. The mighty Dravik finally decide to help. Vex and his warriors moved toward the main hall, weapons ready. They looked confident until they ran into three armed Scourge pirates. The fight was quick and violent. Two of Vex's warriors fell, and Vex himself was injured. The Dravik retreated, running back to their hiding place. Meanwhile, Han and Park had reached a service tunnel above the main hall. Through a vent, they could see Krell and his remaining pirates with their hostages. We've dealt with 8 pirates, Han said quietly. 7 left, plus Krell. Still too many, Park whispered. Han's face showed no fear, only concentration. I need a distraction. Something big. Park thought for a moment. Engineer Choi. If we can reach her in the tech center, she could help. Han nodded. Let's go. As they moved away from the vent, one of the hostages in the main hall looked up at the ceiling. The small green alien had seen movement. For the first time since the attack began, hope showed in its large eyes. The word spread quietly among the hostages. The human is coming. Han and Ambassador Park found Engineer Choi hiding in a small room off the tech center. She was working on a tablet device. Choi, Park said with relief. You're safe. I've been tracking the station systems, Choi explained quickly. I can see where the pirates are through the security sensors. Han told her about Krell and the hostages in the main hall. We need a big distraction, he said. Something to separate Krell from his guards. Choi's eyes lit up. I can do better than a distraction. Look. She showed them her tablet. On it was a map of the station with small dots showing where people were. I've hacked into the life sign monitors, she said proudly. And I can control the gravity in each section separately. Han's face showed the hint of a smile. Perfect. They made a plan quickly. Choi would turn off gravity in half of the main hall, the half where most pirates stood. Han would use the confusion to enter from a service door and free the hostages. Ambassador Park would guide the hostages to safety. Back in the security room, Dr. Lee and the alien representatives watched the screens as the plan began. The human is actually going to attack Krell directly. The blue alien asked, amazed. That's suicide. Dr. Lee shook his head. You still don't understand humans. In the main hall, Krell was getting angry. Half of his pirates had not returned from checking the alarms. Contact them again. He shouted at one of his men. Suddenly, the gravity shut off on the right side of the hall. 6 pirates floated helplessly into the air, dropping their weapons in surprise. Krell, who was on the left side where gravity still worked, grabbed a support pole to steady himself. What is happening? He roared. At that moment, a service door opened and Han entered the hall. He moved quickly, using the walls and floor to push himself toward the floating pirates. With precise strikes, he knocked them unconscious one by one. The hostages watched in amazement as the human moved through the air like he was born there. "Get him!" Krell shouted to his remaining guards. 2 pirates ran at Han. He dropped to the floor and swept one pirate's legs, sending him falling hard. The second pirate swung a powerful fist, but Han moved aside just enough for the punch to miss. Then Han struck back, hitting vital points that Dr. Lee had identified as Dravik weaknesses. The pirate fell, unable to move his limbs. Now only Krell remained. The huge Scourge leader pulled out an energy weapon and fired at Han. The blast hit Han in the shoulder, burning through his uniform. Han grunted in pain but didn't stop moving. "Why won't you fall?" Krell shouted, firing again. Han dodged the second blast and closed the distance between them. Krell threw his weapon aside and swung his massive arms at Han. One blow caught Han in the chest, sending him flying back against a wall. The aliens watching gasped. Such a hit would kill most species. But Han stood up. Blood ran from a cut on his face, and he held his left arm at an odd angle. Still, his eyes remained focused and clear. "You're hurt," Krell said, surprised. "How are you still fighting?" "Humans don't stop when we're hurt," Han said, his voice steady despite his injuries. "We stop when we win." Han moved forward again. Krell swung repeatedly, but Han slipped under his guard. With a series of quick strikes to Krell's joints and one powerful blow to his throat, Han brought the massive alien to his knees. Ambassador Park had reached the hostages and was helping them to the exit. She looked back to see Han standing over the defeated Krell. "It's over," Han said to Krell. "Your pirates are defeated." The watching aliens were silent with shock. No one had ever seen a Dravik, especially one as large as Krell, defeated in hand-to-hand combat by a smaller species. As security forces finally arrived to take Krell away, the alien representatives approached Han. "We were wrong about humans," the blue alien said. "You are not weak at all." Han, still bleeding from his wounds, simply nodded. Strength comes in many forms. 3 days after the attack, Han sat in the station's medical center. Dr. Lee checked the healing burns on his shoulder and the broken bones in his left arm. "You're healing faster than I expected," Dr. Lee said, looking at his medical scanner. "But you should still rest." Han nodded but said nothing. He never complained about pain. The door opened, and Ambassador Park entered with Engineer Choi. "The Confederation Council has called an emergency meeting," Park said. "They want us there in 1 hour. They're going to discuss Earth's status again." Han stood up carefully. "Then we should go." As they walked through the station, aliens stopped to look at them. Some nodded respectfully. Others moved out of their way. Word had spread quickly about what Han had done during the attack. The main meeting hall was full when they arrived. All 12 alien representatives were there, including Commander Vex. His arm was in a bandage from his brief fight with the Scourge pirates. The blue tentacled alien who led the council spoke first. "This meeting will address the status of Earth and the Galactic Confederation. Recent events have caused us to reconsider our previous assessment of humans." Han and the other humans sat quietly as the council members talked. Many spoke of what they had seen during the attack, how Han had fought and planned, how he had worked with his team, how he had continued despite injuries that would stop most species. Finally, Commander Vex stood to speak. His 4 eyes looked at Han with a mix of emotions. "The Dravik have always judged other species by their physical strength," Vex said. "By that measure, humans seemed weak. We were wrong." Murmurs spread through the hall. It was rare for a Dravik to admit a mistake. "The human fought in ways we did not expect," Vex continued. "He used strategy instead of just force. He adapted to each situation. And when injured, he showed a will to continue that I have never seen before." Dr. Lee stood next. "If I may address the council, I have scientific data that might explain what you observed." He showed images on the large screen, human bones, muscles, and brain scans. "Humans evolved on a planet with many dangerous predators," Dr. Lee explained. We couldn't compete with strength alone, so we developed other advantages. Our bodies are built for endurance and recovery. Our brains are wired to solve problems and adapt. And most importantly, we developed something unique among spacefaring species. He showed a new image, a human hunting on ancient Earth. Humans are persistence predators, Dr. Lee said. On our world, we would chase animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Not because we were faster, but because we could run longer. This shaped our entire species. We don't give up. We keep going when others would stop. The council members looked at the images with new understanding. And humans have another advantage, Ambassador Park added. We work together. Each member of our team contributed to our success against the Scourge. Han's combat skills, Choi's technical knowledge, Dr. Lee's scientific understanding. Together, we are stronger than any one of us alone. The council talked among themselves for several minutes. Then the blue alien leader spoke again. We have made our decision. Earth will be granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation, with all rights and responsibilities. Humans have proven themselves worthy allies. As they left the meeting hall, Han walked beside Commander Vex. You fought well, human, Vex said. I would be honored to train with you someday. Han looked at the much larger alien and nodded. I would like that. Back in their quarters, the human team celebrated their victory. Everything will change now, Engineer Choi said happily. The whole galaxy will see humans differently. Han looked out the window at the stars. This is just the beginning, he said quietly. Humans have much more to show the galaxy. 3 months after the Scourge attack, the Confederation space station looked very different. Repairs were complete, and security was stronger. But the biggest change was how aliens treated humans. Han stood in a large training room. Around him were 20 alien warriors from different species. They watched carefully as Han showed them fighting moves. In this situation, don't rely only on strength, Han explained, demonstrating with a Dravik partner. Use your opponent's energy against them. The aliens practiced the moves Han taught them. Even the proud Dravik warriors now listened when Han spoke. In another part of the station, Ambassador Park sat in a meeting with the council. They were discussing a plan to deal with the remaining Scourge pirates. Humans have experience with this type of threat, Park said. We suggest a joint operation, ships from Earth working together with Confederation forces. The council members nodded with approval. No one suggested that humans should stay out of the fight. No one called them weak anymore. Dr. Lee worked in a science lab with researchers from 5 different species. They studied how different bodies worked and what made each species special. Human healing abilities are remarkable. A small green alien scientist told Dr. Lee, if we combine this knowledge with Veloc's tissue regeneration, we could develop better treatments for everyone. Engineer Choi taught aliens about human technology in exchange for learning about theirs. She focused on how humans made simple tech work well, rather than always seeking the most advanced solution. Sometimes the simple answer is the best, she explained. Humans learn to be creative with limited resources. At the station's dock, Captain Kim's ship, the Resilience, arrived with 3 more Earth vessels. They would join the mission against the Scourge. As Kim stepped onto the station, aliens greeted him with respect, not the dismissive looks he had received on his first visit. Commander Vex met Captain Kim at the dock. Your ships will take the front position in our formation, Vex said. We value human tactical thinking. Later that day, Han met with the human team in their quarters. It's hard to believe how much has changed, Engineer Choi said. 3 months ago, they thought we were barely worth talking to. Ambassador Park nodded. One event changed everything. They saw a human in battle. They saw what we're truly capable of. It wasn't just the fighting, Dr. Lee added. They saw our teamwork, our problem solving, our ability to keep going when things look hopeless. Han, who rarely spoke at length, looked at his team. On Earth, we faced challenges that made us strong in ways that aren't obvious. The Confederation needed to see that strength for themselves. The next day, a joint fleet of human and alien ships prepared to leave the station. They would hunt down the last of the Scourge pirates together. On the command bridge of the lead ship, Han stood beside Captain Kim and Commander Vex. Other alien officers looked to Han for advice on tactics. "The Scourge will expect us to attack with our strongest ships first," Han explained. "But we'll do something they won't expect, humans and Dravik working together." Commander Vex nodded in agreement. The strength of claws combined with the adaptability of humans. They will not be ready for this. As the fleet moved away from the station, aliens from many species watched from observation windows. They no longer saw humans as a weak species needing protection. They saw valuable allies with unique strengths. In just a few months, everything had changed. Humans had earned their place among the stars not by being the strongest or having the most advanced technology, but by showing the galaxy what humans had always known about themselves. That true strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most dangerous species isn't the one with the sharpest claws or the hardest armor. It's the one that never gives up.